what's going on, Evercade viewers? My name's Evercade. Welcome to the channel. And today we're going to be talking about another topic. This is kind of similar to a topic I did over a year ago on the channel, but yeah, let me just talk about it again. So basically, I want to talk about the problem with the Evercade's fighting game selection, right? And many people will probably go, fighting game selection? What do you mean fighting game selection, right? And that is the problem. We have the Evercade VS, right? The Evercade VS is a multiplayer console where you can play couch co-op and play with some friends. But fighting games, which is a huge genre for multiplayer, right? I mean, the only reason you'd actually really want to play fighting games if you're playing against a real person is kind of lacking on Evercade. Now, obviously, I've got 4 cartridges in front of me. Data East Home Cons Collection 1, which has the fighting game Fighters History, which is the best fighting game out of the 4 on Evercade. We have Interplay Collection 1, which has Clay Fighter 1, which it's okay. Then we have Namco Museum 2, which has Weapon Lord, which is another fighting game, but unfortunately Weapon Lord will not run on Evercade VS due to Namco's licensing issues with Blaze. And then we have Interplay Collection 2, which has Clay Fighter 2. Now, the problem here, guys, is none of these fighting games is particularly amazing. You know, they're not particularly fun to play. I know when I played the Clay Fight games, I found them quite clunky, quite hard to control. Weapon Lord's kind of a meh game as well, and you can play it on handheld. So, and then you got Fighters History, which is decent enough because it's a Street Fighter 2 clone. Now, why is Blaze struggling when it comes to fighting games? Well, first of all, we've got to remember a lot of the big name fighting games like King of Fighters, Street Fighter, Virtua Fighter, Tekken are owned by major game corporations who either don't license their games to Evercade or have licensed them in the case of Tekken, because obviously Namco, but have pulled out of Evercade since due to licensing disagreements and whatnot. Now, the one outlier here is the game series Mortal Kombat, who obviously is developed by WB Games, who bought the franchise was Midway Arcade's assets back in 2009. Why it's a big deal is because Blaze could potentially approach WB Games and say, hey, we would like to license a bunch of Midway Arcade games. Can we get Mortal Kombat as well as stuff like Joust? And it would all come down to licensing and what the agreements would be. But getting Mortal Kombat, for instance, would be a huge win for Evercade as a platform. Getting the arcade version of that game could signal to other game developers, hey, this is an actual competitor, this is an actual system people are buying, people are playing games on, people are buying games for, let's work with them. Now, in my opinion, I don't expect to see anything like Street Fighter, Samurai Showdown, King of Fighters, Virtua Fighter, Tekken, none of that. I don't expect to see any of that on Evercade anytime soon, which is kind of disappointing to me because I do enjoy a good fighting game, and I do want to have some mates over, have a, fight to death on a game, but I guess we're going to have to settle with like Clay Fighter or Fighters History for now. But it is possible that in the future we could see collections for something like Mortal Kombat. Or sorry, collections that include Mortal Kombat. However, it all comes down to how well Evercade sells and how much money Blaze is willing to pay for a license to certain games if they can even get a license. Now, for me, obviously, Evercade is a great system. But lack of fighting games is really telling, especially when a lot of multiplayer games we have on Evercade currently are beat-em-ups or sports and racing games. So getting some fight games where you can just sit in your room, with your brother or your kid or your son or your friend, and just have a fight. Play a game where you knock each other out and basically see who's the better player. Would be great. It would be a great addition to the Evercade catalog. But unfortunately, Blaze hasn't really really licensed any fighting games. And the 4 we have are mediocre at best and downright dreadful at worst. So it'd be kind of nice if, we could see Blaze come out and go, hey, we've reached an agreement with WB Games to license a selection of Midway Arcade titles, including Mortal Kombat 1 and Mortal Kombat 2. I'd love to see that. Will it happen? I don't know. But I don't expect to see someone like Capcom or SNK or someone like that sign on to Evercade and be like, hey, we're going to give you our best fighting games ever. You're going to be able to play Street Fighter 2 on Evercade. Because they've released, obviously, an arcade home collection. They've released a Street Fighter anniversary collection. I don't think we're going to see something like Street Fighter on Evercade potentially ever. But it's a great. I think it's great that we could potentially get something like, you know, Mortal Kombat, or maybe if Blaze is able to renegotiate a deal with Namco, maybe we could get Tekken. You know, or maybe they can get Tekken and make Weapon Lord work on Evercade. Annoyingly, what's kind of annoying is there's so many different game developers and game publishers out there, and their assets are obviously owned by either a major company or they've gone out of business. So, in my opinion, the best fighting games were made by SNK and Capcom, but we ain't gonna get them. You know, so the best bet is to hope that Blaze can make an agreement with Namco to license Tekken, make a deal with Sega to license Virtua Fighter, make a deal with WB Games to get Mortal Kombat, or they go after some indie fighting games like Rivals of Ether, which is a lot more of a Smash Bros game than it is an actual fighting game. And to me, I just want to play some decent fighting games on my Evercade. It'd be fun to be able to invite some friends over, have a death match, see who's the better fighter. But that all depends on how popular Evercade becomes, and if Blaze sees a market for that to get fighting games on Evercade. I hope Blaze does. I hope Blaze does decide to go to some of these companies and approach them like, hey, can we license these fighting games to basically offer more multiplayer variety for Evercade? Because currently the multiplayer variety is literally racing games, beat 'em ups, and sports games. In most cases, with the occasional platformer thrown in that you can play with a secondary person. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, guys. What do you want? Do you want to see fighting games? What fighting games would you like to see on Evercade? Would you like to see King of Fighters, Samurai Showdown, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Virtua Fighter, Insane Pain, Tekken? What would you like to see? Leave all that in the comments down below. I've been Evercade. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next episode. Peace.